He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minute!
Hello, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Forever, the podcast where we don't learn nothing about Batman Forever, although we do. I think we do learn things about Batman Forever, actually. I misspoke myself. Maybe because I was looking to see, like, what did I write down for an intro for this? And I could barely make out my own handwriting.
That'll teach you to use a pen.
Hey, I'm never giving them up, John.
I'm going to get you a quill.
Somebody once did buy me a quill as a birthday present. Yeah, our friend Marion. She bought me like a quill, a calligraphy set, and a little pot of ink, like way years ago. And yeah, I should have been using it last season because then it would tie into the Penguin writing his friggin' big list of children's names with that quill. Remember, but anyway, I'm Niall McGowan,
and I'm your other host, John Parker. And if you ain't listening to me, then you sure ain't learning nothing.
And today we're joined by, through very recent bizarre circumstances, we have one guest on Friday. We have Father David Mowry has returned from the previous 2 episodes.
Hello, I am really sorry about Doug. I was flipping the coin and I didn't want it to come up the wrong side, but it came up the bad side, and I gotta pull out the gun and just shoot him because that's what the coin said to do.
Well, every week on a Friday, I normally do toss the coin to decide the guest's fate, but maybe that's been done for us in this case.
Sorry to jump the gun.
But yeah, tragically, the guest from the previous 2 episodes, Doug Greenberg's had to nip off. Like little mini, didn't sound like it was like a major emergency, but it sounded like it was a thing he definitely needed to take care of.
Yes,
there and then.
Yes,
so,
definitely. Hopefully everything's fine.
Yeah, and then there were 3. So, 3 to talk about minute 96 of Batman Forever, which is, it opens with yet another failed Batman assassination attempt. And it ends a minute later on the perfect cliffhanger, and then goes on for like 5 more seconds. It kind of ruins the cliffhanger that we could have had.
We don't get to make the minutes.
Yeah. It's just sitting there like, if it just fades out now and that's the end of the minute, that's perfect. And then, like,
just keeps going.
I think movies in the future are going to be made knowing that these podcasts exist. So they're going to really make sure every minute is a complete beginning, middle, and end.
Oh, we can only hope.
I always get distracted by, I think it still does happen in like network sitcoms and stuff, but it was very prevalent way back in the day that when they would make like TV dramas, like, like friggin' Streets of San Francisco or Charlie's Angels and stuff.
Yeah.
They obviously had to film the end of a scene, and then because they knew they were going to an ad break, like that's where there'll be an ad break there, or an act break or whatever. So we have to shoot a different version of the end of that scene.
Oh yeah.
So audiences can get caught up with what just happened when they come back from adverts and stuff. And I just always find it so strange because you'll get a lot of like, that wasn't what they said the last time, or someone's in a different position. And it always strikes me as just really weird. Like, they just knew that back then. It's like, hey, this is all a machine, man. We know where this thing's going to slot in. So we just do it this way, okay?
Well, you don't want to lose any of the viewers. You want to make sure that even if Green Aunt Sally comes wandering in for the last 15 minutes of the show, she's able to pick up on what came right before.
Yeah. It'd be great, though. They're just doing it with movies now. It's like, we get to see Bruce Wayne fall down these stairs again in a completely different fashion.
He doesn't hit his head. So you're like, he's fine. Okay.
And they do that great thing of, like, because they always have the dun, dun, dun music, and then when they come back, they have to do like a to get you back in.
And it would have rewound a little bit as well. Like, say if something is coming towards the hero to kill them, it'll have sort of taken a few steps back.
Yeah.
To give them time.
But yeah, that's the thing. So Two-Face here is about to finally fulfill his dreams of just shooting Batman square in the goddamn face. And as he's about to do it, the Riddler jumps in with this, "No!"
That scared the crap out of me.
Like, I can be a spiteful person. That would be the type of thing. It's like, I would just shoot him just out of spite now. It's like, don't yell at me. Who do you think I am?
There's always so much wind up in these scenarios, isn't there? You've got the hardened killer who's about to kill the hero, and the shooter takes an interminable amount of time to pull the trigger. It gives Jim Carrey enough time to dash back to the car to get the riddle box, because he doesn't have that with him when he's down in the Batcave.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah, where did he keep that? That's
Because his bag got blown up with the Batmobile.
yeah.
I think they must have been. The annoying thing is, like, I think we talked about it in must have been last week's episodes. There is a cloakroom or a coat room, because that's where they lock Alfred in.
Mm-hmm.
Riddler shows up with a hat and a tunic, goes in the front door. Those have disappeared, so he's obviously hung them up somewhere. So I guess is everything just back in the car? That he's just like, or is there a little enclave out there? He's like, I'll leave all the stuff here. Or did he ask a goon to, like, oh, you carry this?
Yeah, some
this
goon
box
draws
for
the short straw and has to be the valet for everyone and look after everyone's coats.
That'd be great if he was, like, standing on, like, the leather waistcoat with, like, the red and black mask, but he had the Riddler's hat on top of him.
Oh, I'm the Riddler. Well, now I wouldn't put it past Joel Schumacher to have a scene like that in one of his movies.
Particularly the next one. That'd be like, that would just be Bane's part. He's just like, oh, Poison Ivy hangs her friggin' feather boa around him or something. It's like, oh, he is literally a hat stand. Or
And, they say, well, the Riddler comes out with, don't kill him. If you kill him, you won't learn nothing. Which not only do I not really understand, but I still maintain that they should just shoot him and get it done.
Why don't you just shoot him? Now, does he say, you won't learn nothing, or he won't learn nothing?
see, that's the thing. I've always heard he won't learn.
I've
nothing.
always heard that. And I slowed it down, and it sounds like you. And when I was thinking about it, I thought you won't learn nothing made more sense, because they're not trying to teach Bruce anything.
Oh, I think they are. I think this is. I've never had a problem with the lying, 'cause I've always took it to be like, oh, if you kill him, he won't learn nothing. Because this final riddle is the Riddler's hoping is going to be the final piece of the puzzle, so Bruce Wayne can put together who's been the architect of his torture this whole time. He'll figure out who, and then he'll be like, oh, it was Edward Nygma the whole time. I shouldn't have been so mean to him back at the start of the movie. He's hoping for that revelation of, like, oh, this guy is better than me and stuff. And, like, that's what he's hoping Bruce Wayne will learn that. I don't know why that would satisfy Two-Face.
Yeah, that's my other question.
Yeah.
Why is Two-Face willing to go along with this? What does Two-Face hope that Bruce learns from solving this riddle?
That's what's bizarre. Neither option makes perfect sense to me.
I guess you could accept it as maybe like an extension of his original pitch of, like, oh, you can kill him, but then, oh, what after that? Like, little hands, post-homicidal depression. And he's kind of like, oh, if you can twist the knife even more here, like, Bruce Wayne, we've got him down.
And the thing is, there's a simple fix to this. Two-Face just needs to flip his coin. Riddler says this, if you kill him, he won't learn nothing. Two-Face grouses, he gets out the coin, he flips it, it comes up good, and then he goes along with it. That solves everything. It's just a quick little insert shot that you need.
Yeah.
Look at Two-Face at this point. He's like, I'm not flipping that coin again. So I've been flipping it for the past 15 minutes.
All day.
Because I could get the Riddler wanting to have the satisfaction of posing the riddle to Bruce, because there's one of my problems with this depiction of the Riddler is that there's not that need to prove his mental superiority over Batman that comes across in other versions of the character. But this, if you read that into this, at least it makes sense that, the Riddler wants him alive because he wants Bruce to engage with the riddle so that he can appreciate how smart Edward Nygma is.
Yeah. The thing is, like, he is kind of like, it's not so much that he wants them to know that he's intellectually superior, which would be a classic Riddler thing. He just wants to know that he's beat him all around. Like, he's got the box company, he's got Enigma Tech, he's got everything. He's got his girlfriend now. He's got, he's destroyed everything that Bruce holds dear, and he wants him to know that I beat you, kind of thing, because you turned me down that one time in the office.
I'll make you understand.
Yeah. Although it is hinting at another element to the Riddler character, which I understand why they couldn't do it here, because I think you need to have had him around for a bit to see it work to full effect. But it does, as a character beat, ties in quite well with Two-Face, is the idea that the Riddler can't stop himself, that he has to leave riddles. He's not happy until the riddle is there and the tease is set.
Yeah, but why? It doesn't make sense for the character we've seen.
Well, that's the thing, because this is a thing that's in some of the best Riddler stories. Most classically, it was brought up in the Riddleless Robberies of the Riddler from Batman 179 in 1966, which is actually, like, for back in the day, like, the 60s silly Batman was actually like a pretty good character analysis of the Riddler. Because he breaks out of prison, leaves a clue, because it's the Riddler, and as he's out, he himself realizes, like, I would be getting away with these crimes if I could just stop leaving riddles.
Hey, wait a minute. If I got over my crippling character flaw, I would actually be pretty good as a criminal.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
And he actually goes to steal something and not leave a riddle, and his hands actually seize up. Like, he's like, I can't do it. I can't not leave the riddle.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so then he goes, he adopts like a kind of like, physician, heal thyself kind of idea, where he's like, I'm going to, condition myself and get over this compulsion. And he does, seemingly.
Oh.
He goes out then on a crime wave where he's like, I'm not leaving riddles anymore, and Batman and Robin are completely confounded. But as the story goes on, Batman and Robin start noticing around town, like, there's a guy over there with like a weird sandwich board that has like 10, how is 10 plus 10 still equal 10? And like the police just randomly get sent like a map of Minnesota and stuff. And after a while, Batman and Robin start piecing together, like, wait a minute, this is the Riddler. Like, he's doing it, but the riddles aren't arriving on time or whatever. Like, and he seems to be, he's almost like he's sending the answers instead of the riddles and stuff. And so then when they come in, they capture the Riddler. Like, they just, it's a quick little comic. They just go and get him. He himself is like, oh, it was me. Like, those cat naps I thought I was having, I must have been like subconsciously just leaving clues.
I was just entering a fugue state.
Yeah, he's doing like a Tyler Durden,
I
like
love
a Fight Club
that.
kind
That's
of thing.
great.
And so it's like at the end of it, it's just like ends in this note, like, yeah, the Riddler is that he's got this psychotic level of compulsion that he can't stop himself from leaving a riddle behind. So that would tie in well with having him partnered up with Two-Face, who was supposed to have a psychotic compulsion to obey the rule of the coin and stuff. But tragically, they don't really get to explore that in the movie. It's just sort of like, I think you would need to have the Riddler, like, that would be a thing on like his second appearance. You could bring up a theme like that. Now it would be a bit difficult to pull off in his like first iteration.
Yeah, that's getting, he's only just becoming the Riddler, really.
Yeah.
You can't go straight into things like that.
And the thing is, I did a quick reread of that comic, just building up to this, and weirdly enough ties into this week, because Robin at one point says, hey, we're having ourselves a hot time on the old town tonight.
Oh,
You gotta be kidding.
everything's connected.
I was like, that's crazy.
Oh,
It's just
my
it's all
goodness.
tying in so well.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's it's just that's an idea I really love behind the Riddler. Maybe that's what they'll be doing with Paul Dano and stuff. But there is also that element you could argue that's kind of here, that like they could totally kill Bruce Wayne now. They got him. Like, they got him dead to rights. There's no way he's going out this one.
Yeah.
And the Riddler's like, no, but I want him to see this thing I've made and to figure it out and then know it was me the whole time.
Well,
Yeah, it's one of
plus
those moments where the writers write themselves into a corner. Like, well, they're gonna kill him, right? Nah, they'll let him get away.
Well, plus their plan, which made no
Yeah.
sense, that we talked about earlier, was they want to kind of completely break him and humiliate
Right.
him and besmirch his name. But really, at the end of the day, why? You could just be done with your problem right now. it might not have as good an effect, but you're still eliminating Batman from the equation. That's amazing victory for you.
I have to wonder as well, of like, what is the Riddler's actual plan here? Because they've come in and destroyed the Batcave. Is he hoping that like Bruce Wayne is just gonna show up and be like no bat suit, no car, no armor, no nothing, and just have to prostrate himself on the floor to be like, yeah, you got me, Edward. Like, he just wants him to show up in his friggin' Gucci loafers and just say, you win. Or is that what he's hoping for, I guess?
I suppose if there was a plan, the idea is to make sure that they just deal with Bruce Wayne. They blow up all of his wonderful toys so that Batman doesn't all of a sudden show up with all of his gadgets and gizmos to fight off the goons. If there is a plan, it's to get Bruce Wayne, restrain him, give him the riddle, probably just knock him out, and hope that Two-Face doesn't shoot him.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is it the lighting, right? But can you clearly see on the Riddler, when you get a close-up of his face, where his mask has kind of slipped a little and moved around, and there's no foundation under it?
Yeah, there's some definite makeup problems happening on
There's a big
the Riddler's
white
face.
mark.
It looks very raccoonish.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, you think they would just go in, just touch it up. It's fine. Just add a little bit under the mask.
Or it's like the makeup person was called in after they put the domino mask on him.
Yeah.
So all right, he's got the mask on now. Now put the foundation on him. Well, this doesn't make any sense. No, just put the foundation on. We're shooting. Got to wrap up these shots.
It kind of looks like he's almost like it's like a sunburn.
Yeah, he's got a bad tan.
But that's to be fair though, Joel Schumacher did say in the commentary, when we were kind of taken aback at it at the time, he said that the Riddler's makeup was more difficult to achieve than Two-Face's makeup. Maybe he's talking about things like this. Maybe this was a nightmare instead of like getting...
Is it because Jim Carrey's face moves so much that the mask rubs up and down?
It's got to be that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a totally acceptable explanation for what was going on. So I guess then, like, well, you can't tell him to not do all the good stuff.
It's Jim Carrey. That's why you hired him, to do the thing.
And he does it now. Like, we go from the worst of Jim Carrey to the best of Jim Carrey in like half a second. Because you get that ridiculous laugh that he does.
Yeah.
Oh, it's painful. But then,
I was worried for a second. I was like, John doesn't like that laugh, does he? I hate that laugh.
No, that's what I'm saying. We go from awful to awesome, because then when he kicks the cane and scampers away, that cool little kick, I love that. That's stylish.
That's pure flourish.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was almost too much for me though. So he's been doing so much cane action. That was almost just like, all right, dude. Okay, you practice with the cane. You don't have to show it off every 10 seconds. All right.
It fits his character. It's also very Jim Carrey, but it's not too obnoxious. I don't know.
Yeah. But I don't know, because it also felt like, I'm sure it is Jim Carrey, but it also felt like that was like a random, like a body double or something. It didn't strike me that was actually him doing it. So maybe
like
that's
him.
why.
What?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but like, there's no reason why it wouldn't be him, I suppose. But
Yeah.
Well,
That's him.
that's totally him.
Yeah.
He's got all those noodly legs. That's definitely Jim Carrey.
They are unique.
I do have to wonder though, because he's left the final riddle now.
Should we
Like,
dive into that now or next week?
Well, let's just talk about the quality of the riddle itself. He has progressed in his presentation of the riddles. First, it was homemade and cutting letters out of magazines and paste, and now he's gotten enough money to have this professional gilded box created. It's a display of how the Riddler's resources have advanced, because now it's got internal clockwork. It's not just pull tabs anymore. So we're really getting serious with the riddles now.
But now it's not DIY. It's lost the heart.
He sold out.
That's why like, at the
did.
end, like Batman showing up was like, Edward, I used to like your riddles when they were like when you made them yourself, man. But like I could tell you just went down to a jeweler's and did that last one. But then that's why he was so like, don't kill him. I spent a fortune.
He needs to see it.
That's like $400 riddle right there.
Do you know how much each of these question marks costs?
Because we don't actually get we get the full riddle next week. We'll see like what the setup and the answer is. But I wondered if we've been overlooking something this whole time, John, because is there supposed to be like a symbolism in the riddles? Because this one strikes me as like, oh, that's quite appropriate. Like it's Bruce Wayne's head been batted back and forth through like a tennis match.
Okay.
Which is like him flipping back and forth between Batman, Bruce Wayne, his dual identities and whatnot.
And the tossing of a coin.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I wonder think of the other riddles too. It's like it was always Bruce Wayne's face transforming into something monstrous. Like the first one was like you pull the tab, it turns from handsome Bruce Wayne into like cartoony bug-out eyes. Very The Mask, actually. The big friggin' mouth dropping down. The second one was his head turned into the skull.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so there's two versions of Bruce Wayne. One's normal, one's monstrous, I guess. And then the third one was like, that was like a middle of a battle, which I guess you could be like, it's symbolic of the battle within Bruce Wayne himself in some way. But I'm wondering if it was a deliberate attempt to be like, yeah, each riddle is supposed to be symbolic of the state of Bruce Wayne himself. Because the riddles are all, well, they're not even about him, but like they are, aimed at him.
Well,
so
yeah, he's featured in them prominently.
Yeah,
I think you're onto something.
But this one really struck me though, just because of the fact it's like, oh, it's so blatant. I'm like, oh, he's going back and forth. It's like it's kind of like flipping between his identities and stuff. Or maybe that's just now because we've talked about Bruce Wayne's dual identities so much on this show.
It was interesting to me this movie brought up the dual identities things, because especially with the masks line, since I felt like Batman Returns did a much better job handling that theme, especially with the ballroom dance scene with Selina and Bruce, where they're the only two not wearing a mask at the masquerade. I felt that did a much better job exploring that particular theme, and there's no real payoff to that in a movie where you've got a man who is literally two-faced. I would say there were not quite enough done with Bruce's tension between Batman and Bruce Wayne, because Batman Returns kind of ate this movie's lunch in that regard.
Yeah, and as we've brought up before, Bruce and Batman in this movie, it keeps saying that they're two different sort of entities. But he's not playing it that way. They're basically the same person.
Yeah.
Much like Two-Face. He hasn't got two identities. It's one, and it's pretending he's two for some reason. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. They should have delved a bit more into it, like the previous movie.
But yeah, so then we get the atrocious laugh of the Riddler, and yeah, these guys are all making their swift exit here.
I just want to call attention to the goons who are escorting Chase down the stairs and then out the hallway. So first, I am sure there were multiple takes ruined because those goons kicked the riddle box off the stairs as they went down. I have no doubt about it, because you can see the goon on our left hop over the last few steps in order to avoid the box entirely, which then in this take that they put in the released version of the movie throws the other goon off balance, so he totally eats it as he gets right by the table.
Yeah, there you go. He goes flying.
And they on set, they're like, it's been a long day. That'll do.
It was good
That's the
enough.
best take. Sure, print it. Let's just be done.
I love that. That must be it must be like take 48 or something like. Oh, can't we just get down the stairs?
Although that's actually this minute is the last we ever see of Two-Face's goons. Tragically, we got some frogmen later, who I guess are the same goons. Maybe they're Riddler private hires, but
well, if not, R.I.P. Two-Tongue Gang.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about any of the actors who played the goons, because they're all just like really, really ripped stunt people and whatnot. But One I did look into who stood out to me is a fella called Darren McBree. And if you see him, it's just like, oh, he is a monster of a man. Like, really, really, like, just ripped guy. Long blonde hair and a beard and stuff. Most people would recognize him if they're fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He played Thor in that one episode. I think it was back in like season 1, where there's an episode where Larry David's stuck behind a car with all these kids who are doing like a cowboys and Indians kind of like, you know, finger guns out to him. And he does it back to them, and then the car like violently pulls over and their dad gets out, and it's a professional wrestler called Thor. And he goes over and threatens Larry, and he does the whole thing like, if you ever point that finger at my kids again, I'll rip it right off you and stick it straight up your sphincter, and all this sort of stuff. And they're like, yeah, he was one of Two-Face's goons, potentially even the one who fell down right there. So, there's Darren McBree. He's also featured in Veronica Mars. Of course, stars Kristen Bell, who was in Teen Titans Go to the movies. And he's in all the 90s crap you'd expect from a ripped, handsome stuntman in LA. Walker, Texas Ranger, Martial Law.
Oh, yeah.
Baywatch Nights. Something called Enter the Blood Ring with Robert Zadar.
Oh.
It's a family comedy.
He's also in the Conan TV show, not the cartoon. Apparently there was a live-action Conan TV show, too.
Why have I not heard of this?
I've never really come across it either. I remember Conan the Adventurer, the cartoon, but I don't remember. Maybe there's a good reason that we don't remember it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was absolutely terrible.
But he also features in Living Color, of course, where Jim Carrey comes from.
Everything's connected.
Yeah, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. He's in. That's, pretty good movie. Oh. And then episodes of Married with Children. Something called Time Barbarians.
Is that like a Time Bandits ripoff?
I guess so. It's just like they're bandits, but they're more fierce, and not in the America's Next Top Model way. And yeah, he must have made a good impression on Joel Schumacher, because he also features in Falling Down and Batman and Robin.
Well, I am currently looking up this live-action Conan the Adventurer TV show. It originally aired starting on September 22nd, 1997, with the two-part episode, The Heart of the Elephant. It ran for a grand total of 1 season.
Of course.
Wrapping up on May 24th, 1998. And I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and it's got everything that you would expect. It's got a Arnold Schwarzenegger ripoff. It's got a woman in a leather and metal bikini, and it has a little person in the main cast. So, what more could you need for a successful 1-season TV show in the 90s?
It sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Isn't that an oxymoron, though? Like a successful one-season television show? Unless it's like Watchmen, where like, no, we only wanted to do the one, but...
Yeah, so the main fault of the adaptation was that it was too peaceful and aimed at all age groups, so that's why it didn't do too well. It was a kindler, gentler Conan that the world just wasn't ready for.
Well, that was the criticism of the second movie, wasn't it? Nobody liked that second movie because they're like, they've toned it down. So why did they do it again?
Why don't they just shoot him?
Yes. That's what we're here to ask, the important questions.
It's like a sequence of like Conan getting like hit by a stone and falling down the stairs, and then James Earl Jones dancing over to finish him off.
I'd watch that.
Got a big old crossbow.
One big thing though, because now we get this slow pan into Bruce Wayne's face to do
very slow zoom.
Yeah, do the old would have been the perfect sign off for this week, but tragically not quite. But in the original scripts, they had something different, and I thought was like better. I don't know why they changed it, but it's supposed to go back down into the Batcave and have a close up of one of the burning suits, and then you start to see the bat symbol melt on the suit.
Ooh.
I'm like, that's a good
symbolism.
Visual. Yeah, I was like, that's why maybe like Joel Schumacher just like, you want to burn rubber on a closed set, fumes and stuff? Oh, no, we're not doing that. Like, I've already nearly killed a friggin' stuntman jumping over that riddle, going down the goddamn steps, so...
That guy broke both of his ankles, dude.
It's like, I refuse to put any more lives at risk for Batman Forever. So
Yeah, I expected this. Yeah, I expected there to be something after this fade to black. Either, maybe a cut to the Batcave, or I was expecting another nightmare sequence. I was expecting some kind of payoff, perhaps with that red leather book, or something to resolve that particular internal trauma. But nah,
It's
get to the usual open eye shot.
It's clearly supposed to have something there, right? More of the giant bat flying towards him, more of the book stuff. It's there. We can see it. We can almost hear it and feel it. It's there.
I can only assume it was like there for emphasis because originally in the next scene he's supposed to have amnesia. So if it started a whole amnesia scene with like a slow pan in and then a slow wake up and he's like, Master, who's that? And things like that. That would gel for me. But as it is, it is just a weird, like, all right, go into his face, and then we come out of his face, and we're back to business.
I like that you see his eyes move, though. Because it's like, because then that led me down a rabbit hole of researching REM sleep and things like that.
You mean REM, who did the hit song "Man on the Moon" about Andy Kaufman, who was played by Jim Carrey?
Everything's connected.
It's all connected.
But I mean, I won't go through all of it because I'm combing through it now, and this is far too much research. What have I done? But because it's not even relevant. But like, I've got weird little facts, like. The eye movement, you get about 7 such loops of motion throughout 1 minute of sleep. So that they're in a pattern. So they're not random.
Okay.
Like your eyes will do a certain pattern, and then after a minute, it'll do it 7 times, and then after a minute, you'll go back to the start of the loop. It's really weird, and like it's not necessarily what you're seeing in the dream. They think it might be, but they can't determine if that's true or not. So blind people, their eyes still do this, so they can't
really.
Yeah, they can't determine. Is it like in the dream you're looking at this, blah blah blah. But if you wake up during that phase of sleep, you're more likely to remember what you were dreaming about, which I think is true. Because if I have a good sleep, I don't remember a single thing. I don't remember any of the dreams. If I wake up in the middle of the night because my cat's jumped on my face, then, I generally remember what was going on. And they also tie it to lucid dreams. Like they think that maybe they are connected. So when you're doing this, you are more likely to be able to lucidly dream, which I can do most of the time. I don't know if that's unusual or not. Yeah. I seem to be able to control
I usually mess it up for myself. I realize, I'm in a dream, and then that wakes me up.
Yeah.
That has happened to me as well. Yeah. Because you get a bit too into the power of controlling the dream.
That's why I always wake up. I'm like,
this is great.
I'm in a dream. We're going to get some weird stuff done. And like, no, I'm out. God damn it.
I love that. But I think it does sort of tie into the story as well. It wasn't just me going down a weird rabbit hole. Because, again, to me, this indicates we are supposed to get some flashbacks or something with the bat or the book right here. Because he isn't just out. He's dreaming about something. He's thinking.
Just dreaming about like getting Dick Grayson out of his house or something.
It could be.
Get that goddamn moocher the boot.
Yeah, he's got what he wanted.
Does laundry like a weirdo.
Believe it or not, that was the most requested scene of the film.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand why. When I watched it, I remember enjoying that scene when I first saw it because it's totally goofy, but it goes by so fast. I just find it funny.
It was great, yeah. I really liked it, but I don't know. When I sat down to think of every minute of the movie, it wouldn't jump to mind initially.
It's one of those things, though. Like it is a really goofy moment, but that seems to be at least my experience of doing this minute by minute with Batman Forever. Like. Nitpicked so many things with the movie and stuff, but every time it is a stupid goofy thing like Robin stealing the Batmobile and going to talk up In Vogue and doing doing his laundry via karate. It's like, yeah, no, it's really stupid. It's great. I love it. So it wouldn't happen any other way. Like, yeah, that should be in the movie. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect. But that's the thing, though, Father David. Like, at this time of the week, on a Friday, we always do ask the guests about their history with the movie. Were you a big Batman Forever fan back in the day when it came out? Like, was it an integral part of your being back in '95, or what's the deal?
It was not. So I was only 7 or 8 years old when this movie came out, which for my parents would have been too young to go and see a Batman movie, even one that was designed to appeal to kids.
See, that's the exact opposite. I was 7 or 8 years old, and my parents were like, shut them up and just get them out to the Batman movie already.
Now, I was the oldest in my family, so I was always the guinea pig, where my parents were figuring out how to parent and what was going to be best. They also knew that I was a child with a very active imagination, and so I was much more likely to reproduce, say, punches and kicks that I saw in the movie on my younger brother. And so I think my parents just wanted to save themselves some trouble afterwards. However, action figures were totally fine. So I had several action figures from the Batman Forever line of toys, and I had those before I saw the movie. So I had the Tommy Lee Jones action figure, and that's how I knew his character design even before I saw the movie. And the thing I remember most, the action figure came with a giant silver coin that was scratched on one side like the coin from the movie. So you could have a Two-Face coin of your own. Not just for police officers in New Jersey. You didn't have to wait for it to be standard issue. Then the Riddler action figure, in order to get at the box and brainwaves and brain capture things, it was this stringy Jim Carrey inspired Riddler, and he had this clip-on pack with a spring-loaded arm where when you hit the button, the arm snapped forward, and the idea was to put this brain drain ring on another action figure's head to capture the brain waves and to represent the kind of mind control thing the Riddler was doing in the movie.
Love it.
So I had these two toys, and I kind of knew, okay, so the Riddler is trying to control people's brains, and then Two-Face has a coin, and then I just had my Batman figures and just made up what turned out to be a pretty reasonable facsimile of the plot of the movie, where Riddler was draining people's brains and Batman had to stop him. And then later on, when I got into high school, I caught up on all the movies that came out when I was a kid that I hadn't been allowed to see. And I remember watching Batman Forever, then watching Batman and Robin, which rather soured me on
Oh dear.
both films, just seeing them back to back like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because at least this one still kind of feels in the same world as the Burton ones a little bit, whereas that one is so far out there.
It's very Schumacher.
Yeah.
It's very, very him.
This is kind of the best of both worlds, master of none, maybe, I don't know.
I think Joel Schumacher has a resentment about, like, you happen to watch them in that fashion, Father David, but like he has a thing now. He's like, people always lump those two movies together. He's like, Batman Forever was very successful. All right, he's always very emphatic. Like, that one worked. People liked that one. It was the next one that everybody hated it. But he's like, oh, people will always just stick them together now because it's the same guy who made them. It's like, no, one of them is really good. All right.
At least he acknowledges it.
Yeah. They are different in quality.
As I do think Batman Forever just exists in a world by itself. I don't think it's Batman and Robin to me is such a separate entity as well because it's such a drop in quality. And I think it is like this one is the perfect Schumacher movie. That I don't think there's little bits of Burton in there, but most of it's just like its own thing. And then Batman and Robin's just like, this is just like this is like that like charging down some stairs and jumping over a riddle, and then the guy next to you ends up falling flat in his ass because you did that.
This movie has a lot of weaknesses, but I think one of the most glaring ones is the weakness of Val Kilmer as Batman. I think he does a great job as Bruce Wayne. I find him much more believable as billionaire in charge of a company than Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, who seemed much more soft, ineffectual, how could this guy ever be Batman kind of Bruce Wayne. But like we said, Val Kilmer isn't really a different character when he is Batman. If we're going to have these really goofy villains, like the way Tommy Lee Jones is playing Two-Face, and then just Jim Carrey as whatever Batman villain, he would play it the same way, I think. You would need to do more with Batman as the straight man foil, as the guy who is put upon in the midst of all these various schemes and what have yous. And instead there's the psychological angle they're working through, with Bruce Wayne having a lot more to do than Batman does.
Yeah, I think you're in a minority there, because most people seem to be on the side of they like his Batman, but they don't like his Bruce. Which is so yeah. I think that might be in a unique position to come at it from the other angle.
I just the Bruce side of him has so much more to do in this movie than the Batman side of him.
Yeah.
Well, that's true actually when you put it that way. Yeah, it is more of a Bruce film.
Yeah, because Batman interacts more with Chase than he does with Riddler and Two-Face.
Yeah, 100%. But are we all done for this minute, though? Do we have any...
Those are all the notes I have.
All the notes I've got, and I want this riddle again so we can try and solve it before we go.
Oh, the riddle.
Yeah. But Father David, for many reasons, is exempt from the coin toss, mostly because Doug has eliminated himself.
It's like, ooh, Doug Greenberg. Won't be seeing him no more.
Phew. That was a close one.
But yeah, so the riddle, just to go over it again, is riddle me this. Why is the letter A like a honeysuckle? Or it is just simplified down, because I think it's the same thing, really. Why is the letter A like honey?
The letter A is like a honeysuckle. All right, hold on. All right, so don't have to know anything about a honeysuckle. So honeysuckle is just a kind of flower. Wait, hold on. Does it have something to do with bees?
It does.
Because the letter A is like honeysuckle because it's surrounded by bees?
But yeah, the letter A is like a honeysuckle because it's always followed by a bee.
Hey!
Oh.
That counts. You get it.
Oh, yeah,
right.
that totally counts. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey.
That's amazing.
Okay.
I never would have got that. Oh, my God.
That is one from the riddleless robberies of the Riddler. That was one when I was reading that. I was like, there goes the riddle right there. Which is why I don't think most modern riddles would include honeysuckles. I think it's a real... In the 60s, they were everywhere.
It expects much more knowledge of nature than our paved-over world allows for in today's youth.
Yeah, well, you joke, but my partner works in a school, and she said that some of the kids have never seen, because we're in the city, obviously in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Some of them have never seen how vegetables grow and things. So she has
Oh
to
my
show
gosh.
them we're going to grow some stuff, and they're amazed, they can't believe it.
Well, when I was in the beginning of kindergarten, in the beginning of elementary school, we would have the bean growing experiment where you put the little thing in a cup of dirt and you get to watch everyone's bean plants sprout and grow. And mine never did, but everyone else's did. Mine was always the one, just one little tiny little leaf, boop, popping its head above the ground, while everyone else had these big tall bean plants.
Oh, don't tell me that. I've just planted some.
Oh, you'll be fine, John. No, I'm the one with whatever the opposite of a green thumb is.
But on that bombshell, anyway, we will head off into the dark, dark night once again. Would you like to tell our listeners one more time where they could find you online, or you could promote something, anything you like?
Oh, you can find me online at my website, fatherdavidmowry.com. I have a page there that has all of my appearances on various Movies by Minutes podcasts. Why don't you take a trip back into the Burton era where these fine gentlemen had me on to talk about The Penguin in a Graveyard and listen to my episode of Bat Minute Returns. And if you're got some questions arising from any of those podcast episodes, you can ask me about it on Twitter. You can find me at Father Mowry. That's FRMOWRY.
And believe it or not, we're also on Twitter, people.
What?
I know.
You find that little website too?
Yeah, it's quite a small underground thing, but we are on there. If you go, we're at. Do you still say at on Twitter? I don't know. I don't think you need to anymore. At Bat Minute, and we're on Instagram, the Bat Minute. Come to our website, thebatminute.com, and buy some merch on TeePublic. We're also on a website called, I think you say Coffee, where you can buy us a coffee, but nobody has because we just send them to the Patreon usually.
Yeah, I've seen that link going around, and I was always calling it Ko-Fi.
I don't know if it is or not.
I think, though, then when you realize it's to pay for coffee, it's like, oh, I guess it's supposed to be coffee. But it just automatically makes you think Ko-Fi.
And you don't have to spend it on coffee. It's very confusing. If you want to give us money through that, feel free. But, you get stuff if you go to the Patreon, so that's probably better. Do that. And we will see you all again. Well, we won't really see you, but we'll pretend that we will. On Monday for more Bat Minute Forever.
Next time, holy captive audience. Owain awakens to find his world upside down and is delivered details of developments that would make anybody frown. But while the broken bat tries to process all the problems to address, which spirited psychologist has been made into a damsel in distress? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.